My name is Norm Malkowski, and I served aboard the USS Duluth from 1975 until 1978. I was intimately involved in Operation Frequent Wind. I met Mr. Pham and his wife when they were evacuated. During Operation Frequent Wind, part of the ship's mission was the use of its 4 lifeboats and onboard Marines to investigate the hundreds of boats that were fleeing South Vietnam looking for sanctuary. People like Mr. Pham and his family had little hope of being evacuated by U.S. helicopters, and so to avoid having their families killed by the northern invaders, took as the only option available to them, escape by sea. Near the conclusion of the operation, the USS Duluth headed back to the Philippines with about 2,500 refugees. This is on a ship that was designed to handle a crew of 300 sailors and 800 Marines. Mr. Pham and his family stand before us today as a shining example of perseverance and success in the face of adversity. So I want to recognize the efforts this man and his family made to come to the U.S. and become the success he is today.
It is not a surprise that our namesake ship has provided a service not just to our country, but to the world. That is in keeping with who we are as a community. I have a proclamation. Whereas, at the end of the Vietnam War, during Operation Frequent Wind, the Pham family made the unthinkable decision to flee the life they had always known, seeking safety aboard USS Duluth LPD-6 and a new life in America. Whereas both the Pham family and the crew of the USS Duluth truly embodied the ship's motto, bold in action. Whereas the members of the crew of USS Duluth are proud to have played a role in the family's safe passage to freedom in America, as well as that is of over 2,000 other people who were evacuated with them. Whereas the city of Duluth, for which the USS Duluth was named, is proud of the ship that carried its name and incredibly proud of the actions of the ship's crew. Whereas we gather today to celebrate and proclaim our community's pride in the Pham family, who have embodied what the promise of America is all about, providing a promising future for your children, your grandchildren, and future generations. Now, therefore, I, Emily Larson, Mayor of the City of Duluth, do officially proclaim October 15th, 2019 as Pham Family Day in the City of Duluth.
Dear Pham family and members of the USS Duluth Crew Association, I apologize I cannot be there today with you for this celebration of freedom, but want to welcome you to the Zenith City that holds claim to the name of the USS Duluth LPD-6. To the Pham family, I read your family's story as told by your son in his piece, Journey to America. Your story inspired me because it is of the American dream. I tried to picture myself in your shoes on your journey, and it was humbling to the core. As I finished your story and learned about where your family ended up and the life you all built, I couldn't help but be moved by how all of you followed our forefather Jefferson's words from the Declaration of Independence. We hold these truths to be self-evident, that all men are created equal, and that they are endowed from their Creator with certain unalienable rights, that among these are life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. I thank you for sharing your great story, and may it serve as inspiration to others who hope to achieve their own version of the American dream. One thing that struck me most about the story was the manner in which the crew of the USS Duluth handled themselves. By helping the family in their time of need, the crew exemplified the very best of this nation. I thank each and every one of those crew members for their commitment to the practicing of what makes our country the greatest in the world. May the story of the brick that the family ordered that led to this entire event remind us that we are all connected. May the story of the Pham family, the USS Duluth crew, and all of those of Operation Frequent Wind serve as an inspiration for all of us. This story further fuels the love I have for this country, and is one I'll never forget as long as I live. Thank you, and enjoy the rest of the celebration. Sincerely, Pete Stauber, Member of Congress.
First, I want to say good afternoon, everyone. And again, I want to thank Mayor Larson and her staff, including Phil Jentz, for inviting our family to today's ceremony and to kick off what will certainly be an eventful day for my family in this wonderful city of Duluth. As we celebrate and remember the Duluth and its heroic participation in Operation Frequent Wind at the end of the Vietnam War from the end of April to early May 1975. I also like to acknowledge with gratitude Don Rowe, the president of the USS Duluth Crew Member Association, for his initial outreach to me and his subsequent work in bringing today's events together. For those of you who may not be familiar with my story, my parents, through their courage and amazing efforts, were able to evacuate our family of 6, well actually 7, with my youngest brother, in his own words, being a stowaway in my mom's belly. From Saigon on the day it fell to North Vietnam and out to the South China Sea, where we were rescued on May 2nd, 1975 by the Duluth as part of the Operation Frequent Wind. Now, I was only 10 years old at the time, but even at that age, the gravity of the mass evacuation of Saigon was not lost on me. I realized the immense risk my family was taking and that our lives, along with those of my fellow South Vietnamese citizens, would be forever changed. I never expected my story to become part of the history of the USS Duluth Memorial, and I'm incredibly honored and more than a little amazed by the overwhelming response. As a husband and a father, I can appreciate how difficult it must have been to uproot the entire family and to venture literally under the cover of darkness to seek safety and a better life for us all. Incredibly honored to have the opportunity to be part of today's events as we celebrate and remember the USS Duluth and its role during Operation Frequent Wind. And I'm proud to have been part of the Duluth's history. Thank you, everyone.
Honorable Mayor Larson, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, good afternoon. I am honored to stand here to share a few words with you about the reason for my Duluth visit, celebration of freedom. More than 44 years ago, on May 2nd, 1975, my family of 6.5 people, my wife at that time is pregnant, and my children and I were rescued by the USS Duluth and its servicemen. After more than a day, our boat floating and waiting around the Southern Fleet. At that moment, we knew only that we were alive, but we were uncertain of our future health. After a few days in Guam and approximately 2 months in Fort Chaffee, Arkansas, we were sponsored by Drake University Newman Catholic Community in Des Moines, Iowa. They helped us to start a new life. We are very happy to see Mr. Mike May, our sponsor, here. Mr. Mike May, please raise your hand. Thank you. We would like to take this opportunity to express our deepest gratitude and appreciation to the USS Duluth crew member who rescued us and treated us so kindly while we were on board. We also thank the United States of America that welcomed my family and more than 100,000 people, refugees who escaped the communists, for the opportunity to rebuild their life here in freedom and to contribute to this great country. Every day in our prayer, we thank God for saving our life, for guiding us to this land of freedom and promise, and for each and every person who helped our family on our journey almost 45 years ago. Thank you all. God bless you. God bless America.